It looks like a river like any other. Dark water, muddy banks, dense vegetation. But here, every inch is a potential trap. Nature won't let you escape even with your eyes. You watch fear being born, growing, and turning into instinct. At first, there's only a den in the riverbank, a hole dug into the mud, warm, sheltered, invisible from a distance. Inside, a family of otters. Outside, a mother barely sticks her muzzle out, scents the air, checks the current. It feels like a domestic scene until you realize where they are. Because a den on the edge of the water isn't just a home, it's an invitation. Beneath the surface, something ancient is moving. An armored body slides along the bottom, slow and silent, with the calm of something that doesn't need to hurry. A caiman. It doesn't have to run. It only has to wait. In water, speed isn't heard. It's seen at the very last moment. And when you're close to the bank, focused on the pups, when you drop your guard for a second, the river opens. The otters know it. That's why they're never truly calm. They gather on the mudflat, press close to each other, form a line, like a team. It isn't just maternal instinct, it's strategy. Because in nature, when a prey is trapped, the trap isn't always built by the predator. Sometimes the place itself is the trap. The caiman surfaces, first the eyes and snout, then the back, then that mouth that looks like a tool, not an organ. It's close enough to make the group tremble. And now the target is clear. The pups, piled on the mud, slow, vulnerable. The mother steps in front. Another moves beside her, and then another. A wall of small bodies against a massive weapon. And here, something happens that the wild has repeated for millions of years. Fear doesn't always make you run. Sometimes it makes you attack. The otters surge forward. They lunge, bite, scream. They aren't trying to kill it. They're trying to move it, to make it understand this won't be an easy hunt. The caiman snaps, tries to close its jaws on the right spot, but it isn't easy when your prey circles you like a vortex. Every time it goes for a pup, an otter slams into it from the side. Every time it tries to dive, another one pursues it to the last inch of water. Then the battle changes dimension. The camera drops beneath the surface, and the world turns blue-green, filled with bubbles, sand, and shadows. The caiman is in its element, but it isn't alone anymore. The otters go in with it. They bite its legs, its snout, its neck, tugging as if they want to break its control. It's an image that sticks with you. An armored giant surrounded by smaller bodies that refuse to accept defeat. In the end, the caiman backs off, not because it's good, because even a predator can read risk. A wound in nature isn't a scratch, it's hunger tomorrow. And so, for now, the den stays safe. But the river doesn't forget, and the trap stays there, ready for next time. Then the story shifts from the noise of water to the dry silence of the undergrowth. The light changes, warmer, harsher. And here, too, the trap isn't made of teeth. It's made of natural corridors, narrow trails, bushes that block the view. It's a perfect labyrinth for a hunter. In the middle of that labyrinth, a puma appears. It doesn't enter the scene. It materializes between the trunks like a shadow made of muscle. It moves low, shoulders rolling like waves. It doesn't look around at random. It looks where it needs to. Because a puma doesn't chase for long. A puma builds the moment. Ahead of it, a group of capybaras grazes and moves with an apparent calm. They're big, sturdy, but also creatures of habit. And habits, in a world of predators, are a slow sentence. The puma studies them. It waits for one to drift away, for one step to be shorter, for attention to slip elsewhere. And when it decides, it isn't a run, it's a fracture in reality. It launches, a burst of dust and leaves. The capybaras bolt as a mass, collide, change direction, and the puma cuts the corner as if it had already seen the trajectory before it happened. This is the heart of the trap, not strength, positioning, choosing the point where escape becomes impossible. In seconds, everything closes, a body drops, the puma grabs, clamps down, shuts off the breath. There's no malice or cruelty in the human sense. There's efficiency, there's energy being transferred. And in the silence that follows, you understand something. Prey doesn't lose because it's weaker. It loses when the space around it stops offering exits. But nature doesn't let you breathe, because right after that, the story sheds its skin again, literally. Between glossy leaves and wet roots, an enormous snake appears, a long, thick body that looks like a living rope. It moves slowly, but it isn't slowness, it's control. The snake doesn't need to run, it needs someone else to make the wrong step. And as if that weren't enough, the puma returns to the frame. It approaches, sniffs, watches that body that isn't afraid to be seen. It's a suspended moment. Two predators, two different ways of ruling. The puma is explosion, the snake is pressure. And when two kinds of pressure meet, the result isn't always an attack. Often it's a decision. Is it worth the risk or not? The next scene feels like it was pulled from an ancient nightmare. A natural pit, a deep cavity, walls of rock and vegetation dropping straight down. And above that void, a snake lowers itself along the wall like a living pendulum, slow, relentless. Here, the word trap becomes almost physical, because a place like this doesn't forgive. If you slip, if you get too close, if you look for water in the wrong spot, there is no B plan. And then, as a final blow, comes the most unsettling scene, a tangle of snakes, many of them, piled together. It isn't random chaos, it's concentration, it's competition, it's life squeezing into the same space because that spot, for some reason, offers something, warmth, shelter, prey, or simply the safety of a perfect hiding place. And inside that living knot, prey isn't even necessary to be frightening, because sometimes the trap is simply knowing you could end up there. The video then returns to earth and mud, banks marked with holes, tunnels, passageways, ground that looks calm but tells a story. Here you enter and exit fast. Here you hide. Here you grow. Here you die. The otters reappear near the den among pups and adults. They move like a family that can never truly drop its guard. And then a new character arrives, bigger, heavier, a bear. It comes through the trees with a presence that crushes the air. It doesn't run. It doesn't need to. If it wants something, it takes it. And what it wants is clear: food. Something on the ground, a carcass or a stolen meal. In nature, food isn't just nourishment, it's territory. And when an animal finds a resource like that, it draws everyone in. It's a social trap. You don't have to look for predators. They come to you. The otters move closer, persist, bite, try to defend, or maybe tear off a piece. The bear lifts its head, growls, pushes them away. It's an uneven clash, but it isn't over, because in the wild, dominance doesn't erase effort, it multiplies it. Every minute spent defending a meal is a minute you're exposed. And sure enough, not long after, other competitors appear. Wild dogs. They move fast, jittery, with the energy of animals that know real strength is in numbers. One watches, another circles wide, another tries to edge closer. They don't attack immediately. They study, they test boundaries, they look for the mistake. The bear stays planted, massive, but the pressure rises. The otters dart in bursts. The wild dogs probe distance. It's a contest of nerves. And this is another kind of trap, the trap of attrition.
Because you don't have to lose in a single instant. You can lose in 5 minutes, when energy drops and focus cracks. Then the scene opens on a small, almost innocent animal, a rabbit or hare, motionless between grass and the forest edge. Here, the trap is visual. The prey thinks it's invisible, but invisible doesn't mean safe. It only means you don't know who's watching you. And then, moments later, the wild dogs run. One clamps the prey in its jaws. There's no heroic chase, no long escape. There's a moment when distance collapses to zero. And that's exactly what's most terrifying, how quickly a life can turn into silence. And just when you think you've seen enough, nature pulls you into the smallest detail. A squirrel on a trunk, paws gripping a seed, a moment of apparent quiet. But even here, there's a trap, distraction, the need to eat, the need to